Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Power is Now Real Estate Roundtable. Happy New Year. It's 2023, and I don't know about you, but I have been tidying up my business plan and beginning to execute on some things that I started in the fourth quarter. And I'm learning that the business plan is a living document. You're constantly making adjustments to it. And so we decided to begin a series at the beginning of this year about business planning for 2023. And with me is Emerick Peace. He is an extraordinary real estate professional, owner of Keller Williams Preferred Properties in Prince George County, Maryland. He has 600 agents working for him, and his goal for 2023 is to go to 700. And he has agreed to do a series of interviews with me about business planning. This is part two. And again, welcome, Emerick Peace, to the Power is Now Real Estate Roundtable.
Thank you, Eric. Ready to get rolling. This new year brings a lot of excitement and it brings even more opportunity. It's just a matter of whether we're willing to plug in and punch down on that opportunity to make it come to reality. In fact, I'm like super excited. People are talking about the way the market or the conditions in which we're doing business, how much they've changed. It's opportunity.
You're absolutely right. It is opportunity. And the fact that you plan to go from 600 to 700 really kind of supports that, right? I mean, you must see opportunity if you see that kind of growth.
Well, I see the opportunity. I see that kind of growth because this is a skill-based market. And since it's a skill-based market, it's going to require that agents begin to get more professional. They get more professional training. They're in an environment where the environment is pouring into them and just enriching them as a person. And I truly believe that we have that environment to make that happen. And what's more important is we have to tell people that we have that environment and show them that we have that environment. That's what's really important to me right now, is that we have the ability to show people, tell people and show people we have that environment, and we have the answers to help them to grow their business and grow their life.
Emerick, I've heard this phrase, skill-based environment and our market. And I'm wondering, hasn't it always been a skill-based market for those who are really successful in real estate? In fact, those are not, they're not because they lack the skills.
Well, what do we consider success? Success is an individual event, right? What I deem to be successful may not deem what you deem to be successful. However, in a rising tide, all boats float. And so over the past, like really 8 years or so, we've been riding the wave, right? We had lower prices and lower interest rates. And so even a blind squirrel can find a nut in that environment. The reality is that when the prices go up and the interest rates go up, do you have the skill and ability to be able to market to clients and procure clients that way? The other end of that is the intellectual, I'm going to call it the intellectual prowess or the intellectual ability of the client has changed, because the internet automatically makes them a little smarter, because they have the ability to research, they have the ability to look up properties, they have the ability to look up information. There's so many different YouTubes and TikToks and Facebook articles that keep them educated. And you just have to be on top of your game, because they're reading these videos, they're reading this information, they're looking at these videos, whether it's accurate or not, they're going to form their opinion. And when they come to you talking about it, you still have to be able to speak intelligently to either articulate it as being fact or an exaggeration.
And actually, the ideal scenario would be that they're watching your videos, they're reading your articles, they're following you online, right?
Yes, that is a true statement and a statement of truth.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that we're doing this, Emerick. And I can't find a more qualified individual to do this with me and to
Thank you.
talk about business planning for real estate agents in 2023. Now, in part one, we talked about the importance of a business plan, defining your niche,
Right.
and then also we ended with creating an avatar. And
Mhm.
so I want to spend a few more minutes on the avatar before we really dive deep on part two, which is this is part two, and that is
Okay.
getting clear on your services. So before we get clear on your services, I want to spend a few more minutes on the avatar. And you said something in part one that really resonates with me, and I think this is a problem in our industry. And that is, if you're trying to sell to everyone, you'll end up selling to no one because you don't really have a clear focus and purpose on who you're trying to serve, which is where the avatar comes in.
Correct. And so when we talk about that, right, it's kind of sort of like if you're hunting rabbits. If you're hunting rabbits and there's 3 rabbits in the pasture, you run out and you chase all 3 rabbits. Which one do you catch?
None of them.
Exactly.
Now, I'm
Exactly.
not a hunter
Or
either, but I know that.
or you catch the slowest one, right?
Mm,
Which may not be, if there's a reason why it's slow, because it may not have many advantages to your
mm,
objective. And so when we start taking a look at that, the truth is, those who have a focused concentration on a particular object, they usually reach that object, they usually reach that goal, they usually uh, become as one with whatever that mission is, and they're more apt to receive it and achieve it because they're hyper focused on that particular item. And that's what's so important about an avatar, because when you focus, you know the behavior pattern, you understand the lifestyle, you understand the behavior style, you understand where it lives, you understand where it visits, you just understand so much about your avatar that you're inside of their world, and it allows you to capture them not only physically, it allows you to capture them emotionally. And
mm,
when we're talking about sales, there has to be an emotional connection, right? At some point, because logic makes you think, emotions make you act.
mm.
And
I
so
like
with having
that.
that avatar, that emotion is so important because you want people to respond to you and act upon what you're attempting to get them to do, even though it's in their best interest.
So to tie this back to your hunting analogy,
Mhm.
when you're going hunting for rabbits, you're observing here and you're kind of identifying that rabbit that is the slowest rabbit, and you're going to focus in on that, right? And so
Perhaps, perhaps,
perhaps.
maybe you don't want the slowest rabbit. Maybe you want the fastest rabbit. Yeah, it just depends. Usually, you really don't want the slowest rabbit because there's a reason why it's slower because it may have a defect. The slow
Mhm,
rabbit may be sick.
mhm,
You
mm.
get what I'm saying? So it's the
But
same
you
thing.
have to
I
focus,
think last week we used a fishing analogy, right?
right?
And we use it, if you fishing for whatever you're fishing for, you have to have the right type of bait when you're fishing to catch that type of fish.
Mhm,
Because if you're in the pond fishing with the wrong kind of bait, with the right kind of fish, how many fish are you going to catch? None. Because you're fishing with the wrong kind of bait. When you know your avatar, you go to the pond and you're fishing with the right bait for the right fish, which creates a probability of success. With the wrong bait, you may catch something. The question is it edible? So,
you're right. So this avatar,
yeah.
it's an imaginary persona, the ideal client you want to serve, and
Mhm.
and it forces you when in part of your business planning, if the first thing you're going to think about, but there's many things to think about in terms of business planning, but if you're really going to focus in on your ideal client, you've already said this, you really have to know everything there is to know about the client. The
Yes.
first thing that comes to mind, I know you've served in the military for many years, you're retired military. And so for you as a salesperson, and I know you're a business owner, but for you, it would be a pretty easy move to make military personnel an avatar, an aspect of
Yes,
your avatar,
yes.
because you are intimately aware of all of their challenges, their hopes, their dreams, their desires. You lived in that environment. How long did you serve, by the way, in the military?
20 years and 5 months, Eric.
20 years and 5 months. Did you count it down to the day and hour?
Oh yeah, we used to call it 20. We used to say 20 days in a. We would count it 1 year in a wake up, 6 months in a wake up, 3 months in a wake up, and we actually did count it. Because that was our target. That was our goal. It comes back to being in a space, your target, your goal, your avatar, what you want to achieve. What you focus on expands.
So that would be an easy way for those who are watching or listening right now, and you're real estate professionals, and especially if real estate, you didn't like, I interviewed someone the other day that went straight out of college into real estate. This is the only job they've ever had. That
Right.
is typically not the case for most people. I mean, they have some type of career prior to moving into real estate. But even if they didn't, even that person who just came out of college, there could be, something about his studies, his degree, his education, and finding people that kind of mirror that education to focus on in terms of attracting people to do business with him because they are like-minded in terms of how they think, what they know, what they understand from an educational degree or
Mhm.
professional or prior occupation.
Well, and you said, you brought up something. You said me being prior military would be the perfect avatar for me for military people. Well, to be quite frank with you, for the first like 11, almost 12 years of me being in this business, that was my primary source of business. That was my avatar. I was active duty. They were active duty or retired. We could speak the same language. We had the same mentality. I understood their motivation. I understood what their strengths and weaknesses were. And it was just a great environment for me. And I literally made a living off of military people because we had so many things in common. And I understood what their motivations were for whatever situation they were in.
So when you're looking at forming or creating that avatar,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's kind of break that down a little deeper here for those who are
Okay.
listening and watching. So number one is the easy thing is the profession. The easy thing is profession, but
Yes.
still getting beyond that, we got to look at goals. Obviously you sell real estate or you help people buy real estate. So a goal can't be that it's a person who wants to buy or sell. That's a given, right? We need to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they want to buy? Why do they want
Okay.
to sell? There needs to be some connection to the motivation. In fact, you mentioned that earlier. The emotion, the motivation, the circumstances as to why they want to buy or sell. And so, the ideal client needs to have, by the way, if we're not going to waste our time, they need to have a real motivation. Otherwise, you could end up wasting your time, right?
Absolutely. And when you say that motivation, what's really more important is what moves them emotionally. Motivation is emotional. What moves them emotionally? What's the one of the questions, in fact, is if someone says they're moving to California, the question is, what is so important to you about moving to California? And they will tell you what's important to them. Okay. And the next question, what time would you like to be there? They're telling you a time frame. And so they've told you they want to be in California, their grandchildren in California. They really like to be in California within 6 months so they can be with their grandchildren. Okay. All of those are emotional items that people will tell you when you are in tune with them and their emotion. And let's just say your avatar are baby boomers in the marketplace right now. That's one section of baby boomers that are retiring and they want to move out of the area. There's a second set of baby boomers that are retiring and they may want to downsize. There's a third category of baby boomers is that, I've never bought my dream house. Now I want to buy my dream house. So baby boomers span the whole gamut of the buying process. The question is, who's your avatar? My avatar is baby boomers, and I emotionally connect with them because for me, I'm just creeping into baby boomer because 1964 was the last year. I can relate to them in some ways. In some ways, I just can't. However, from an emotional perspective, I understand where they are. I've been retired before, right? I'm in a second career. I'm in a good place in my life where I can relate to people because I've had so many different life experiences that they can relate to and I can relate to. So it's a great connection from an emotional perspective. And I genuinely like that group of people.
Wow. Emerick, you've said a whole lot there. And there's a couple of really important things, I think, that come to mind for me.
Okay.
If you truly connect with your clients emotionally, well, number one, you'll find that you're probably then aligned in terms of your values, right?
Yes.
I mean, because people do business with whom they like and trust, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if you can connect with them emotionally, then you're probably more aligned with them in terms of values, and you're able to retain that customer because you like them. So often our agents fired because there just really isn't a match. It could be from personality because of misalignments, not only just in their in terms of values. And when I say values too, meaning you like the same thing, you have the
Right.
same need, you value. I mean, values could be faith, it could be family, it could
Yes.
be health, it could be exercise, it could be education, it could be politics, it could be I mean, there's a number of things that fit into what your values are.
Yeah.
But if that emotional connection is there, the odds are high that you will be aligned in terms of their values and maybe even also their fears because
Right.
you're close to the same age and you're dealing with these issues yourself, as you just mentioned.
And those things are super important because real estate particularly is an emotional business. Unless you're working with investors, everything absent investors, everything else about real estate is emotional because it deals with someone's life and their lifestyle and their quality of life. Those are emotional decisions.
Wow, you're absolutely right. And if anyone has ever sold real estate, they have seen that emotion firsthand,
Yeah.
from their anxiety and fears and frustrations to when the transaction is done and they're
Mhm.
crying and are laughing and joyous over, moving in and getting the keys to their first home. I mean, it's emotion from start to finish. I know one real estate agent told me that he feels like a counselor. I mean, especially with married couples, just keeping them together.
And we are counselors, to be honest with you. We are counselors because counseling, particularly in this case, it's an emotional, right? It's a fact-based and emotional conversation in real estate. The fact is the interest rates are what they are. The emotional connection is that you have to understand that you can't buy a house for the same price that you bought a house last year, and you have to emotionally adjust to that lack of savings and that aggressive pricing structure.
Right,
And it just happens to be the place that you want to spend the next 20 years in.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, this has really been a great review, folks. We touched on this in part one with creating your avatar, and just to kind of just finalize this very, very important aspect of business planning. Creating your avatar, the easy route is profession and occupation, education, but it can cover the gambit here from age although you should not discriminate in doing business with anybody, regardless of their age, gender. Some people may just want to work with women or with men or with younger people or older people. But gender, is women, men, LGBT, non-binary. They're all different kinds of categories today. But I want to emphasize that we should not discriminate at all. But to have a target audience is perfectly okay. And saying that I'm more emotionally connected to
Right.
individuals who fall into this category. You could look at annual income. You want to sell luxury properties. You want to deal with high net worth individuals. You want to deal with people with formal educations like PhDs and MBAs and, in the education field. I mean, there's a host of different categories you can kind of drill down into. And then from those kind of very superficial categories, that's the starting point for you to be
Right.
able then to develop and to kind of confirm that you are aligned both in terms of values, that there is an emotional connection, that you are, that you like them, they like you. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how good your business plan is and how strategic you are, you're not going to do business with people who do not like you or trust you. Am I right, Emerick?
Absolutely. Yes. And that is fact. That is fact. And we do the best example of that is the car dealer. If you like the car dealer, you will walk out of the car dealership with a car that you never intended on buying when you walked in the door.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my God.
You walk out the door with a car you never intended on buying just because you like the person.
Yeah.
And you always spend, not always, you typically spend more money than you ever intend on spending in there.
Man, oh man, oh man. You're absolutely right. For those of you just joining us, we're talking to Emerick Peace. He's the owner of Keller Williams Preferred Properties in Prince George County, Maryland. Oversees 600 agents, looking to go to 700 in 2023. This is the new year, and we're talking about business planning. And I can tell you, I've been business planning the entire fourth quarter of 2022, and I'm still doing it. And I realize that I am, because it is a living document. We have to keep making adjustments until we are achieving the goals that we want to achieve. You're going to say something?
No, I'm just saying absolutely. It's fact. What you said is fact.
I keep dropping these facts, folks, right here on the Powers Now Real Estate Roundtable. More from Emerick Peace when we come back.
Want to keep up with the current developments happening in the world of real estate? The Real Estate Roundtable, hosted by Eric Frazier, is a show you do not want to miss. The show features a panel of VIP agents who are passionate about helping people. It is what they do best. They discuss today's hot topics, latest market updates and trends. The panel also conducts interviews with prominent figures in the industry. New episode every Friday live on Facebook and replay on the Thepowerisnow YouTube channel.